What happens when the man she once knew, the one she could predict, control, and emotionally manipulate simply doesn't exist anymore? When she reaches out, expecting the same soft replies, the same need for closure, the same emotional dependency, and instead she's met with silence, with stillness, with composure, that's when it begins to sink in. Not with a bang, but slowly, quietly. The realization creeps in. You're not that man anymore. She assumed time would freeze you in place, that you'd remain stuck in that emotional loop, waiting, hoping, hurting. She thought you'd stay accessible, familiar, easy to reach. But what she never anticipated was your evolution. You didn't become cold. You became clear. You didn't stop caring. You stopped performing. You didn't disappear. You outgrew her. That's what stoic evolution looks like. It's not loud. It's not theatrical. It's not for attention. It's internal. It's deliberate. It's a quiet detachment from anything or anyone that once pulled you off your path. This isn't about getting even. This is about getting aligned with yourself, because at some point, a man stops negotiating his worth and starts embodying it. And she feels it now. In every unanswered message, in every quiet moment where the old you would have folded, that the new you simply stands still. Didn't change to impress her. You changed because the pain demanded it. And now, the silence says everything. If this speaks to you, if you've stepped into a version of yourself they never saw coming, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and drop a comment if you're done shrinking to fit into the past. You're not who you were, and that's the point. Now, let's begin. Number 1. She thought you'd stay the same, but you didn't. She expected time to stand still. She believed that even if she walked away, disappeared, or played her games, you'd remain anchored, still waiting, still wanting, still there. She assumed that the man she left behind would be frozen in place, just as open, just as vulnerable, just as emotionally available, because that's who you were. Steady, invested, predictable. But what she never saw coming was your growth, your silence, your self-respect. She thought she paused the story. What she didn't realize is, your story kept moving without her. You didn't stay stuck in that chapter. You turned the page. And now, she's trying to reconnect with a version of you that no longer exists. She's calling out to a ghost, because the man who once craved her presence has now mastered her absence. You didn't evolve to punish her. You evolved because life demanded it. Because pain shaped you. Because silence matured you. This wasn't a decision you made overnight. It happened slowly, relentlessly, through nights filled with doubt, through discipline, through the kind of honest reflection most people avoid. And now that you've changed, she doesn't know how to reach you. Her old tactics don't work. Her control is gone. She expected the same story, the same dynamic, but the entire script has changed, and she no longer has a role in it. Her first mistake was thinking you would stay the same. Number 2. You no longer need her to feel whole. There was a time when her attention felt like oxygen, when her gaze made you feel seen, when her presence made you feel enough. Back then, you wrapped your sense of self around her validation. How she looked at you, how she responded, how she made space or didn't. And when she pulled away, you crumbled, because your emotional stability was still living in her hands. But not anymore. That version of you doesn't exist. Now, you've stepped into something steady, something whole. You're not searching for someone to complete you. You're not waiting for approval. You've stopped outsourcing your worth. That hunger, that emotional dependency, it died in the quiet. And in its place, discipline, purpose. She feels that shift now, even if she can't name it. It's in the way you don't flinch when she reaches out, the way you don't need to prove you've moved on, the way you guard your energy like it's sacred. You used to chase her love. Now, you don't chase anything that costs you your peace. She thought all she had to do was reopen the door and you'd come running. But you've grown beyond that. You've become full on your own. And when a man reaches that level of stillness, he becomes unreachable to the people who only knew him when he was broken. Number 3. You're unavailable in the ways that matter most. Sure, she can still message you. She can check your socials, scroll through old photos, replay old moments. She might even convince herself that with the right words or perfect timing, She could get you back. But what she doesn't understand is this. The man she used to reach wasn't just physically present. He was emotionally available. And that man is gone. You're not just distant. You're untouchable in the ways that count. She used to be able to hook you with a glance, a breadcrumb, a vague message. But now, you don't react. You don't spiral. You don't flinch. Because you're not playing that game anymore. This isn't pride. This isn't revenge. This is something deeper. You've built emotional boundaries. And those boundaries are not there to punish her. They exist to protect you. Your peace. Your purpose. Your power. And she feels it now. In the silence. In the stillness. In the space she can no longer cross dots. So, if you've outgrown who you used to be, if you've stepped into a version of yourself they never saw coming, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. You're not bitter. You're just better. You're not hiding. You've just healed. You didn't ghost them. You grew past them, and the man you are now doesn't fit back into the story you left behind. Now, let's begin. This is what stoic evolution looks like. It's not just about ignoring the text or not answering the call. It's about being so grounded in your purpose, so at peace within yourself, that her presence or her absence no longer shifts your center. You used to live in response mode, constantly reacting, constantly adjusting. Now, you live on your own terms, not out of ego but out of clarity. And that's what unsettles her. She can still reach out, but she can't reach you. Not where you are. Now, because your energy no longer leaks where it isn't respected. Your emotional access isn't up for grabs. You're not withdrawing out of bitterness. You're choosing peace over performance. When a man becomes emotionally unavailable to chaos, manipulation, and the cycles that once drained him, that's when he becomes truly untouchable. Number 4, you stop seeking closure. She's the one searching for it now. There was a time when you couldn't sleep, replaying every conversation, analyzing every mixed signal, trying to decode the silence, the distance, the sudden coldness. You wanted answers, some form of clarity. You thought if she'd just explain, maybe the pain would finally make sense. But that was the old you. The man you are now doesn't chase closure, because you learned the hard way. It's a trap. Closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes, it's a decision. You didn't get the apology. You didn't get the confession. But you got yourself back. You stopped bleeding for someone who kept cutting. And in that silence, you found something stronger than answers. Peace. Control. Evolution. And now, the roles have reversed. She's the one pacing. She's the one refreshing the chat. Not because she suddenly understands your worth, but because your detachment created a vacuum. A silence she doesn't know how to sit with. You're no longer the man hoping for a message that makes everything make sense. You're past that. You've made peace with the fact that not every story gets a clean ending. Some just end. Quietly. Completely. She thought you'd wait forever. That you'd need her words to heal. But you didn't. You moved on without them. You didn't get closure. You became it. And that is when everything changed. Number 5. She lost access. Not because you blocked her, but because you elevated. You didn't hit block. You didn't post some dramatic, undone speech. You didn't make a show of cutting her off. You simply rose silently, gradually, without needing her to notice. And that's what makes it real. You didn't force distance. You just became someone she no longer knows how to reach. She didn't lose access because you shut the door. She lost access because you outgrew the house. She stayed rooted in the same games, the same patterns, thinking you'd keep showing up the same way. But while she stayed still, you elevated mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The man who once responded to every breadcrumb no longer exists. And the man who replaced him doesn't respond to noise at all. Now she's feeling that loss not through anger, but through your absence. She can still find your number. She can still type a message. But what she can't access is your presence, your energy, your investment. Because those things aren't available to people who treated them like they were disposable. That's the highest form of discipline. Not cutting people off in rage, but rising so far above the situation that they can no longer reach who you've become. No argument. No announcement. Just quiet evolution. She didn't get left behind because you pushed her away. She got left behind because she never moved, and you did. Number 6. You're not cold. You're controlled. She'll say you changed, that you shut down, that you became emotionless, distant, hard. But that's not the truth. You're not cold. You're controlled. You didn't stop feeling. You just stopped leaking. The difference is discipline. You still have a heart. You've just stopped handing it over to people who don't know how to hold it. Before, your emotions ran wild. You reacted fast, spoke quickly, reached out when panic hit. That made you predictable software easy to manipulate. But now you've mastered the space between impulse and action. You've learned to pause, observe, protect your energy instead of putting it up for auction. She mistakes your calm for cruelty because she never expected you to be silent on purpose. She thought you'd always try to fix it, always explain yourself, always crack under pressure. But you don't, not anymore. Your silence isn't a wall. It's a filter that blocks out drama, chaos, disrespect. A filter that keeps your peace intact. Stoic evolution doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop performing. It means you don't show your cards to someone who only came to the table to play. You're not cold. You're measured. You're aware. You're dangerous, not because you're heartless, but because you've learned to control when and where that heart is seen. Number 7. You're focused on legacy, not loops. There was a time when you couldn't stop replaying the past, the fights, the silence, the what-ifs. You were stuck in the loop, revisiting the same pain, recycling the same thoughts, hoping for a different outcome. But that version of you didn't have direction. He only had memories. And memories aren't a mission, they're just noise. Now you're not spinning in circles. You're building forward. You're done repeating the same emotional loops with someone who was never growing with you. You've shifted your mindset from reaction to creation, from thinking about her to thinking about legacy, about what you're building, who you're becoming, what you'll leave behind when this is all said and done. She's still waiting for the old version of you to reappear, the one who lived in his feelings, the one stuck in the same story. But that chapter's closed. You've replaced emotional obsession with purpose. She's still watching the door you walked out of. You've already found another one that leads to something greater than approval or affection. It leads to impact. That's the real shift. When a man stops living in cycles and starts moving in lines, straight, focused, forward. She thought she had time, thought the loop would always be there. But while she's rewinding, you're evolving quietly, relentlessly, and you're not coming back to repeat a lesson you've already learned. Number 8. Her influence faded the moment you chose yourself. There was a time when her mood could shift your whole day. One cold response, one delayed reply, one look, and suddenly your confidence dropped. You were emotionally tethered to her approval. That wasn't love. That was control, silent. Subtle control built on your own lack of clarity. That the day you chose yourself, the day you stopped needing her to validate your worth, that's the day her influence began to fade. It didn't happen with some big declaration. It happened in your silence, in your pause before reacting, in your decision to stop explaining yourself to someone who never truly saw you. You stopped showing up to prove your value and started moving like a man who knows it. And without that emotional dependency, her power dissolved, not because she changed, but because you did. She may still be in your past, but she no longer lives in your mind. Her voice doesn't shape your direction. Her attention doesn't define your confidence. You chose peace over chaos, growth over ego, self-respect over emotional negotiation, and that choice shifted everything. She didn't lose you when she walked away. She lost you the moment you finally realized you didn't need to be chosen to be complete. The moment you stopped bending and started building, that's when her grip slipped for good. Number 9. She doesn't recognize the man you've become. That's the point. She keeps looking for traces of the old you, the one who over-explained, over-apologized, overgave. She's testing the waters, waiting for a glimpse of the man she used to manage. But he's gone. And every time she tries to engage with who you were, she's met with a wall of calm, composed indifference. Not pettiness, not revenge, just evolution. She doesn't recognize you anymore. Your silence is sharper. Your eyes more focused. Your energy no longer pulled toward her gravity. And that's not by accident, that's the point. You didn't change for her. You changed for you. You're not interested in proving anything. You're not explaining why you're different. You just are. This new version of you isn't emotionally available for someone who drained the last one. You're more reserved, more direct, more self-possessed. And to her, that feels like unfamiliar territory, because the power dynamic has flipped. Subtle but absolute. You're no longer trying to make her see your value. Now she's struggling to understand how she ever missed it. That's the price of not appreciating someone while they're still within reach. They grow. They evolve. They stop asking to be understood, and start living like they never needed to be. And when that happens, recognition turns to regret. But it's already too late. Number 10. The story didn't end. It evolved without her. She thought it ended when the connection broke, that the story paused, that maybe with time it could resume where it left off. But what she didn't realize is this: the story didn't end. It evolved. And it evolved in a direction she can't follow because it no longer includes her. She was the turning point, not the destination. The pain she caused didn't destroy you, it awakened you. It forced you to confront who you really are, what you truly want, and what kind of man you refuse to be ever again. The heartbreak wasn't a dead end, it was a launch pad. And now every day you wake up more focused, more controlled, more free. You're writing a new chapter. She stayed still, assuming your story froze when she left. But yours kept moving quieter, cleaner, faster. Not built on resentment, but on discipline. Not on trying to make her regret it, but on making sure you never settle again. You didn't climb just to show her how far you could go. You climbed because staying down there was killing you. That's the final twist. She thought she ended your story. But really, she just gave it meaning. And now you're too far ahead to explain how it all changed. You've evolved past the part where you needed her to understand. The story isn't over. It's just way beyond her reach. You didn't get colder. You got clearer. You didn't get harder. You got wiser. This is stoic evolution, the quiet, focused transformation of a man who stops reacting and starts building. If you've stopped trying to be who they remember and started becoming who you were always meant to be, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She won't recognize who I've become, and that's the goal. This is Stoic Blessing. Your power doesn't come from proving anything.